Welcome to the first ever annual live edition of the Huddle House. It's unprecedented times. This is the first year ever, second draft, but the first one we ever had 13 out of 14 Huddle House or Huddle Buddies members in attendance for the draft. Yeah, sorry, Mitri, we wish you could have been here for sure, but definitely excited to kind of recap a little bit about what went down and just kind of be here all in the moment to celebrate what was a pretty fun day. So how you feeling, Ty?
Yeah, definitely. Super fun day here with all the guys. Had everybody together. A lot of trades happened, a lot of things to recap, and we're going to have a lot of guests come on and talk about it today. So I guess we can just start. Let's just run through the first round a little bit before we bring any of these people in to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we can kind of share our thoughts on it. But I think it was very much what we expected for the first 7 picks, and then I think it was kind of when the draft really started. But you saw Bijan, Jameer, JSN, Addison, Johnson, Flowers, and Charbonnet. Mm-hmm. And then what happened after that?
After that was absolute chaos, man. So pick 8, we're like, the big question the past few days has been like, what's Chris going to do? Because that was kind of the first wild card pick. We're like, what is going to happen? Is he going to go running back, going to go receiver? And then we see Anthony Richardson go off the board, but we didn't know the context yet. We just see him take him. Yep. We're like, okay, Chris has got Russell Wilson, who might take a bounce back this year with Sean Payton. It's not like his biggest need by any means, kind of perplexing pick. And then he's like, wait. And we drop a bomb. Sam comes out here. He's like, we got a 3-man trade, which we've only had one of those ever, and it was just kind of like inconsequential pick swaps for the most part. Yeah. So they'll actually have a move where Stephon Diggs goes to cracking a full, and then Duval, our 2-time champion, gets Calvin Ridley, one of his guys, to pair with Trevor Lawrence. It's a very interesting trade, and it's the first ever trade that Austin's been a part of.
And Austin lands Anthony Richardson, the quarterback, pick number 4 to the Colts in the NFL draft. So a lot of things happened there, and from there we saw Devon Achane go off the board next to Dimitri, Kendre Miller to Jake, and then Michael Mayer to Dimitri, Kincaid to Jeremy, Roshan Johnson to Chris, and then Tank Bigsby to Brandon to wrap up our first round. So very interesting, and I think, if we were going to talk about first impressions, the first thing that comes to mind is that 3-team trade, so maybe we should just start talking about that and bring on the man responsible for it if he wants to come join us.
Let's go for it. Yeah, unfortunately Brandon was here, but he's not here anymore. The only person actually still currently here that was in the trade is Chris. So let's have Chris on.
Yes, Chris! Let's go, boys.
Watch out for that.
Straightener. Let's go, man.
What's up?
Welcome aboard. Come on in.
Awesome.
Yeah, Chris.
Great first guest.
Boy.
Our first guest, and I think our most noteworthy guest of the night, since he was so busy this draft.
Absolutely.
So we'll recap a little bit about kind of what went down. But Chris, tell us a little bit about the process of going through it all and just kind of landing Stephon Diggs, an elite wide receiver onto your team. What was that kind of conversation like with the guys?
Well, I had no plan going in this draft. I was just gonna wing it. So when Austin came up to me, because people had asked me to move up a lot today. The past. Louder? Sorry. Just a quiet guy. So a bunch of people had approached me, and I was like, I don't know who I'm really going to take. I need wide receiver depth, and I need a running back. So when Austin came up to me and was like, yo, if this guy falls to 108, Calvin Ridley is yours. I was like, Calvin Ridley's a good guy, not who I would want, but whatever, we'll see what happens. And then when Brandon heard that and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, if you want Stephon Diggs, let's make something happen right now. So we're just sitting there, me and him are watching the draft just tick away. And once I knew that it was sealed, because I knew the guy that he wasn't going to take him because he didn't need a quarterback.
Yeah, I didn't need a quarterback.
So
that was me.
I knew it was all set. Once I made it to 7, I knew 8 was in the bag for.
Sorry.
In the bag for sure. So that's where we were at with that.
It was a wild thing to experience, and it played out very dramatically. So applaud you for pulling something off like that. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely a big move for Chris to get Stephon Diggs on the team, a guy that week in, week out can get you 20, 25 points a game. Definitely a really cool move. And Calvin Ridley is now on Brandon's team, and he's finally departed with Stephon Diggs, the guy that's been a huge catalyst to getting them 2 championships.
Yep.
Kind of an interesting thing for the 2-time champion to move off one of the guys that got him there. But sometimes you gotta adapt to circumstances. Feels like there might have been a little bit of Jacksonville Jaguars love, maybe influencing the pick.
A lot of that, and I think this is our first episode of the whole offseason. We should also note that he not only traded Steph Diggs today, but also the other half of that stack, Josh Allen, earlier this offseason. So we essentially turned Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs into Trevor Lawrence, Jerry Jeudy, and Calvin Ridley today.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think it's an interesting strategy, and it has a lot of upside for him. So we'll see how that plays out. But an interesting move today for sure.
Yeah, I think Brandon's going to go into Sundays be a little bit more excited maybe now to see so many Jags guys on his team. He's pretty dang invested. The Jags have a bad week. It's affecting Lawrence, it's affecting Ridley, and it's also affecting ETN.
And he did take Tank Bigsby,
And Tank
like
Bigsby
Jake
in the
notes.
14th pick.
And the backup to ETN, who he also has on his team. So he is really Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
True.
Through and through.
Yeah, true and through.
Respected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have one guy with taking all the Jags players, and then Mitri had to go get Michael Mayer at 11, get himself a Raider. So
Yeah.
definitely some maybe internal
for sure.
homerism, but can't blame him. Sometimes you got to go with the guys you're used to. So.
Well, I think I kind of speak for everybody when I was talking about overall takeaways from the day was the amount of trades that were going down and the conversations that were being had. Very cool environment, very special feeling, and you were a part of a lot of those today. Did you kind of come into the day knowing that was going to be a possibility of wheeling and dealing to that extent, or was it just I'm here and I'll take it in stride kind of thing?
Well, once I realized once the first trade went down pretty quickly, and realized that it was easier to do it on draft day than any
Yeah.
other time, I was like, I got 8 or 9 picks.
Yeah.
Let's make something happen.
Mhm.
Because rookies are nice and all, but if I can get a player that's going to score me points now and get rid of like a pick or two, second round picks, they're hit or miss. So
Sure.
getting a few guys in the second round was a pretty good move, I think.
Well, another moves you made today, you traded away Kenny Pickett and brought in Rashad Bateman. And I'm not sure what the other pieces were in that deal, but I know there were a few others. So you had a few other moves. Did you have a favorite move you made today?
Getting Diggs.
Okay, perhaps other than him.
Well, then Bourne's gonna make a ranking.
You did draft C.J. Stroud at the second round.
CJ Stroud, I'm excited for. And then the tight end I picked up in the second because I'm sick of Pitts.
Sick of Kyle Pitts.
Fuck,
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me. Hate that guy. But I can't trade him. He's too valuable, man.
Yeah.
I wish because I watched him at Florida and he's an absolute stud of an athlete.
Yeah.
But you can't trade him.
Yeah.
I just want him to be the guy that I hope he would be. So that's why I had to take him in the second round. Hopefully my tight end position can work itself out eventually.
Yeah, hopefully so. With time for sure. But a successful day. We just really want to talk to you about that. So yeah, thanks for joining us here, and we can grab somebody else on.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and grab Lucas. He's the guy that started it all off.
Sure, we can get.
He wasn't the most active, but
See you
he's
guys.
Hey, thanks.
he's got something. He's got something to be hyped about.
Bring on Lucas.
Lucas,
Welcome to the club.
welcome to the Huddle House in person.
Thank you.
All right, Lucas. You had probably the least surprising pick of the last 2 years. I think we knew Marcus was going Brees last year, but this is even more obvious. Like, definitely no suspense. How did it feel, though, actually texting Sam, locking it in, seeing the name go up on your team?
It felt really good, man. Obviously, the crown jewel of the draft. It was sort of interesting the end of last season to watch the race for who was going to have the rights to get
Right.
that player.
Right.
And then he went one at the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft, and that
Yeah.
sort of built the hype, especially to the Falcons. So that's just built up. And probably the most hyped dynasty player in the last 5 years or so at
Yeah.
least coming in. So excited to have him on my team.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, leading up to the draft, it seemed like there were a lot of whispers and some rumors of potentially that pick being on the move. We know you're an opportunist. Was that something on your mind coming into the day, or was it just in the moment? Everybody
Not
around.
really. I wanted to throw it out there, test
Yeah.
the waters, see what came in.
Sure.
But not really ever planning on moving that
Yeah.
pick. Maybe 10 minutes before the draft came somewhat close.
Uh-huh.
But with another person in the league.
Yeah.
We won't discuss the details.
Understood.
All I will say, I won't say the details, but I know it was actually sent in sleepers. So theoretically, it could have been on the move. Didn't happen.
It was very dangled. Yeah. But so that pick was pretty much etched in stone. Then you had a lot of time off until the move with Chris, who we just had up here, to get Kenny Pickett. What was your mindset on that one?
I thought I was done after when I was sitting back relaxing, just watching the draft. And I've been talking about Chris about getting Kenny Pickett from him for a while because I need a backup behind Jalen Hurts now that Zach Wilson is at backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've been talking with him about it. Haven't been able to close the deal on anything. He just comes and grabs me in the middle of the second and is like, let's do this for Kenny Pickett. He wanted Rashad Bateman. I didn't plan on giving up Rashad Bateman, but he's offering the 205 plus Kenny Pickett. Like, give me a minute to think about it. I thought about it for a minute. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I think Rashad Bateman was definitely the most valuable piece in that deal, so it kind of hurt a little bit, but I needed that backup quarterback, and I ended up using the 205 to draft Tajay Spears, who's more of a positional need for me than wide receiver. So I think it was a win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
But good move for Chris.
Yeah.
Way to take advantage.
Yeah, so you got your Kenny Pickett, Tajay Spears. What's your evaluation on Spears?
Spears, he's not a player that I scouted. Like I said, I didn't plan on picking there. But I knew there was sort of a tier of running backs there with him and Kendra Miller, Devin A-Chain, some of those other guys. He's sort of the last one in that tier. And I saw a lot of wide receivers left, and so I also needed a running back a little bit more for my specific team. So I just wanted to grab him up before he went. And I think Jake actually was probably going to take him with his next pick. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Jake was going to take him.
I have an idea that he was.
Do we discuss?
Maybe we should bring Jake up with that one.
Maybe
we
that'd be a
can
good
discuss
time.
that with him. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations on the
Thanks for your
Robertson.
time. Congrats on Bijan. We'll see you in the season.
See you in the season. All right,
Can we
Jake.
call up Jake Clark?
Boo.
Welcome to the Huddle House, Mr. Clark.
Welcome, Clark.
Barely standing, but I'm here. I'm alive.
All right. So yeah, Lucas brought it to our attention about a certain pick, and he kind of was guessing. But let's take it back even further and just kind of talk about the first round in your mindset, because you were kind of in a spot where you were a little bit. Whoever fell to you was who you were going to be able to take there at 110, which was your first pick. So you get there, Anthony Richardson goes off the board at 8. What's your mindset when you saw that happen?
I knew I was going Kendra Miller right away.
Yeah.
It hurt my heart so bad to see Richardson go, being a Colts fan.
Right, he's your guy.
That was who I was taking no matter what if he was there. And then seeing the deal to go down, I just had a feeling, like weeks leading up, like the past 3 weeks, I was just like seeing all the mocks and seeing everything happen. I was like, he's not going to fall to me. So I was like, I had to prepare. And that's when I decided to cut a trade with Marcus this week. And I was like, I need to move up in the second round so then I can at least have two guys that it's like this year I can say, okay, is this something I can work with for the future and build my team back up, because my team's aging, as everyone can see. And I know Lucas has been pushing really hard to cut a deal with me, and he ended up, I was trying to get Bateman from him, but he struck a deal with Chris today, and like I said, Chris was the active suitor for a lot of people this week.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely was. He was very active. We know you were too. But you do land Kendra Miller there at 110. And
Snags Jaden Reed at 206.
yeah, a few picks later, you get Jaden Reed. What do you see in him as a prospect on the Packers?
I just think he's a good guy that might fit in the slot well for them.
Yeah.
I think that he could take over for Dobbs and be the wide receiver too. And I think, a guy on Jeremy's team and Jordan Love is a guy that, they believe in. I mean, they wouldn't have let Rodgers go to the Jets if they didn't believe in him. And, I think it's a chance, it's an opportunity, it's a risk.
Yeah.
But, at 206, I thought it was a good fit.
Understood.
And it fits my team and gives me a guy at least behind a couple of vets to see what happens.
Now, what do you think about Lucas's claim that he kind of sniped you with Tajay Spears there? Were you at Spears at all? Were you on him, or were you Reed all the way?
I was Reed all the way because
Reed all the way.
I felt like Spears had some ACL issues in the
He
cartilage,
had a couple knees.
and
yeah.
so I do think Spears is going to be the backup there in Tennessee, and I was a big fan of that idea, but I didn't believe in him enough just due to the injury and the lifespan of the RB position. So
Yeah.
I felt going wide receiver was just a better fit at that point in time.
Understood.
There was a live trade just completed, by the way.
Oh, live
okay,
trade.
live trade.
Breaking
Right.
news.
A trade on the air. Let me see.
Breaking
You may read
news.
it.
Breaking news.
Breaking news on the
okay.
show. Right now.
Traechner is making
Traechner.
moves. Okay, so as we speak on the air, my 2024 first round pick that Traechner owned and a 2024 second rounder from Chris were traded for Chris Godwin, Mike Gesicki, and David Montgomery.
What a time
Whoa,
to break
wow.
some news right here.
Wow.
The Huddle House was hot. Maybe we should bring one Caleb Weiland to the stand. To
Yeah, we
discuss
have
what
to.
just happened.
We have
Thank
to
you,
bring
guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Congrats
you.
on the
Good to
draft,
have
man.
you. Caleb, you want to come join us and
Weiland
discuss this
brother,
trade
you're
that
on.
just
I'll hop
broke?
on here for a little bit here.
Come pop a squat real quick.
I told Caleb we could have him
Let's-
on just to recap the other guys' moves, and he's like, you don't have
Here
to
we
have me
are.
on
Let's
tonight.
talk about this.
I'm
You
not
slide.
one
Get
for
on
the
the stage.
spotlight, you know what I'm saying?
Now we have
So
to
just
have
tell
you
us
on.
about the process. Did this just happen while we were on the air? Did you say let's make some content while they're recording?
We've been something like that. We've been talking about this for a few hours here.
Yeah.
And we were gonna try to work Christian Watson into the deal, but I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, we know you like him. Yeah, we know you like him.
I don't have a whole lot of soft spots, but that's one of them.
He
And
gets one.
I got a good offer for him, but it wasn't enough to justify his upside.
Yeah.
I don't really, I'm not contending. I don't need anything from him this year, so I was happy to move off of the other two pieces, kind of take a few points away from my roster and further my tanking expedition here. It's going great. Adding more.
Ish.
adding
You
more
heard the
picks.
word
I
right
heard it.
there.
I heard it.
That's a dangerous word to throw
Careful.
around these.
Maybe
yeah.
a dangerous word, but
Careful.
I've been proud of it the whole time. There's nothing wrong with selling assets and getting some more back.
Well,
you
we
what
know
I'm
you've
saying?
been trying to move Montgomery and Godwin for a while. What was it about this offer that was like a pull the trigger?
Like you said before, it's like every single offer I sent out, it would kind of just get left in the rafters. It just wasn't happening. It didn't seem like anyone was biting, so I just kind of had to take what I could get. I didn't quite think I had to. I hadn't had any room to ask for his second without throwing in his beloved Patriots new tight end there. So
Gesicki.
that was a little bit of a sweetener, but I think I got about as good of a return as I could get for those two guys. I think
Yeah.
they don't fit my timeline as well as I'd
Sure.
want. I think it's a good idea to sell running backs if you're trying to rebuild because their shelf life is pretty small. So yeah, that's about it. That was the process. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for giving us a fascinating little moment there. That was fun.
Nice to know I have another guy rooting against me now. He's got my pick.
Love it.
Thanks for coming on.
Lots of enemies this
Best of luck with the tank, quote unquote.
Oh, yeah. Ain't no quotes, baby. The tank.
Speaking of the commissioner, why don't we bring
Yeah.
on Commissioner Clark here, because he had a busy draft day as well, and now he's the proud owner of is it
Every quarterback.
is it five quarterbacks? on
Four.
his team?
Four. It's just
Four.
four.
He's got four. He's got
A
four.
reasonable
Four's
four.
the limit.
Four's the
Four's the
limit's
limit.
three.
Yeah.
Anybody
Three's
needs
the
a
limit,
quarterback,
technically.
hit him up.
So yeah.
So, okay,
quarterbacks
so-
are available.
So as of today, you now have Kyler Murray
Yep.
and Bryce Young on your team.
They are the
You
new
landed
additions
two new quarterbacks.
to the two from the original squad of Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins.
So take us through the process of adding those guys.
Well, so to be honest, so coming into this draft, I was interested in looking into some trades just to see what was out there because I was 210, 301, 313. It's like, all right, whoever's available, who's best is who I'll take.
Sure.
But then when Austin shows up, he's like, I'm in for some some trades. Then he comes over to me and he goes, so to move, because he heard me talking to Chris, I said, hey Chris, was it going to take for 201 or something to move up? And he goes, no, I can't do it. I was like, all right, I'll just sit and wait. And so Austin comes up and goes, hey, I got 203. If some guys are available, who are you interested in? I'm like, I mean, just depends who drops. So I was like, but if someone useful drops, with Trey Lance's recent circumstances of, we don't even know if he's the second quarterback on this team. I said, well, it'd be nice to have somebody behind Kirk Cousins that's not Derek Carr, and I know that Austin's a Saints fan, so I'm like, I would send you Derek Carr with a pick to move up if you want. And he goes, okay, well, what if I sent you Mac Jones? I'm like, if you need something else, I was like, I have a couple of running backs or Brandon Cooks, whatever you're interested in. And he goes, I think I'll take Cooks. And I was like, well, Bryce Young's there, so I'll take a chance on Bryce Young. So I made that deal right off the bat, and I was like, Bryce Young is the young guy to have potential moving along with all the draft investment in him. I said, him to replace Lance, and Lance is just the wild card to the side with Kirk Cousins feels like a great idea. I was like, we'll just sit with that, and then Mac Jones is just kind of like the third guy.
Sure.
And I was like, Lance is just, well, if nothing works out, we still got 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so then he came to me later, and Jordan's sitting there, and he goes, I'm still willing to move Kyler. I put him on the trade block earlier. I was like, well, what do you want? And he said, pick plus some people. I was like, some fab maybe. I was like, all right. So I sent an offer, and I was like, does this look okay? And he goes, sure. And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to say no at this point. I was like, I sent an offer. If you're interested in it, take it. And he goes, no, I'll take it. And I said, all right, we'll figure this out later. I was like, worst case, we put Bryce Young on taxi, and we see what happens. I was like, my team's kind of in between anyways. If we're really going to ride the rebuild, I was like, eventually we move somebody and we ride Bryce and hope he turns out to be the #1 pick.
Yeah.
I was like, best case, everybody turns out good.
Right.
I have someone of value for somebody that needs a quarterback later on. So it really turned into just quarterbacks filling up my roster because I traded the rest of my picks away anyways because everybody kept coming up anyways and was like, oh, do you want to move this pick? And I'm like, 301 to get Kyler and then 313 to just move to the next year that could be a higher third-round pick. I was like, well, for a couple of fab to replenish what I sent and a future third, it could be higher. I was like, why not? And so in a day, I thought I was going to just be like, well, whoever's left on the board turned into moving up to replenish my quarterback position to kind of like assure that I had depth behind Kirk Cousins, who's got a year left on his deal, and Trey Lance, who's kind of had his value drop shortly and could rise, but who knows?
Smooth.
Really a mystery. So
give yourself a lot of depth in a position that was uncertain. It was
making the
nicely
best
played.
of what's available to you, whatever people come to you with, which isn't often for me, to be honest. In this league.
You're a shark. You're a shark.
It's fair. It's a fair option.
It's known. Yeah. Well, that's all great. Who do you think had a great day in your eyes, or who's somebody you like?
Honestly, like obviously Lucas got the guy of the draft, but I mean, I think it was funny because I had obviously reached out to a couple of people, and Mitri, who's the one guy who's not here, I said, oh, do you have an interest in like sending this second-round pick for anything? And he goes, no, I have an idea. I know who I want for each one. I think he had a plan coming into the day without trades involved, where the rest of us are together. We're like, we got to make these moves. He's like, no, I have an agenda. I'm going to stick to it. I think he made a good agenda of like sticking to what I'm going to do from the get-go, no matter what people say. So he stuck to what he's got, even though, I mean, his team's kind of up and down. Sure. I think overall for the draft, if you're just focusing on draft only, he stuck to that well compared to the rest of us who were kind of like, what's available?
I think with Mitri, I don't think there was ever one where like 10 seconds went off the clock without his pick being made. It was
everybody else were pausing the draft. We're like, wait, hold on, there's a trade?
Yeah.
And he's over there, I'm done. What are you guys doing over there?
Yeah. He was ripping through.
Oh, no, I agree. He was keeping it moving.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Quarterback was my spot today, and everybody else kind of made improvements into each position. I was like, I feel like quarterback was my spot that was a little bit weak. I have a little bit of depth when it comes to running back, receiver, whether it's for right now or for the future. I feel like quarterback was my kind of position of no depth, where it was like you were hoping Lance was the guy for the future, but right now it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So I think I covered that well, and that was my biggest concern coming into today.
You definitely nailed it on the quarterback front. Now you're the Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah.
So quarterbacks
Could be anybody.
Go to him.
Yeah, we'll see how
Could
it
be
goes.
anybody.
But nice work, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
Well
coming
done,
on.
Mr. Commish.
I want to call up.
Appreciate you.
I want to call up Mr. Jeremy McCleary next.
Let's bring Jerm up here.
'Cause I really liked his draft. I want to talk about it.
I
a
liked
little
his
bit.
draft as well.
What's up, Mr. McCleary?
What's going on,
How you
guys?
doing, sir?
Jeremy.
Good, I'm doing well.
Jeremy, I remember as soon as the draft ended, walked over to you. I said, honestly, I think you're one of the winners of the draft. I think
Thank
you found value where it was. Very, very happy seeing the value you got. So let's kind of break it down, starting off. Dalton Kincaid, taken in the first round, goes to a high-powered offense. Not really any major threats, obviously, besides for Stephon Diggs there. Definitely could potentially fill in a role with some consistent volume from a top-5 quarterback. How do you feel getting him at 12?
I feel great getting him at 12. Tight end has been really a position I've struggled with for a long time. Going out of the startup draft, I felt good. I thought I had my guys. I thought I at least had one of the two. Turns out neither of them were my guys. Still have Irv. We'll see if he does anything, but he's let me down enough times. I felt like I needed a tight end. And then I came in here looking for a tight end or a running back, and it just happened to be that he was the talent that fell to me at 12, so I took him there.
And a true talent he is. He's a great landing spot in Buffalo, chance to make an immediate impact. They always do talk about the fantasy ineffectiveness of rookie tight ends, though. What's your level of concern with him being a rookie? Do you feel like he can be the one to overcome that, break the mold?
I think he may have his moments in his rookie year. I don't expect him to be this killer guy, go-to guy immediately out the gate. And I honestly don't need him to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a decent tight end option paired with Joe Burrow, but I want a better option. I want an option that's going to tip me over the edge and put me to that championship tier.
Sure.
I've been to the playoffs. I want to go further. I want to win a chip, and that was a position that I didn't get consistency from in my playing this year.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well said. And then in the second round, you turn around and draft Chase Brown, the running back, 5th-round pick from the Bengals.
I had 2 second-round picks this year.
Oh yeah, he also went ahead and snagged Zach Evans as well.
Gotcha.
So kind of break those down for us a little
Sure.
bit.
Yeah, no, another position of need for me. My 2 biggest positions of need were running back and tight end. So I think with this draft, I addressed both of those pretty well. I love Brown. I love that he's got a role to step into immediately. I don't have too many running backs off the bench that have roles at this point in time. I've got some handcuffs, but it's nice to have a guy that I know at least if I have a down day, he'll have a spot somewhere getting a few touches per game. And then obviously there's some upside. He's young.
It's good offense, too.
Yeah, and then just Zach Evans
Real
was
good
just another depth pick for me. Just get another running back. I wanted to double down. I wanted 2 of my 4 picks to be running backs. So I just took the best running back available at that point in time in the draft.
Yeah.
So just wanted to stack that up and possibly have him off the taxi for the most of the year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Zach Evans was a huge faller. I mean, going into like several months ago when we're all scouting talent, everyone thought Zach Evans was a top 6 pick. Some stuff kind of happened with the combine and just some reports and everything. He started losing interest. It just kind of shows how much things can change over just a few months. But the fact that he is still probably directly right behind Cam Akers, who was really rolling at the end of last season, looked fantastic, looked fully healthy, but still does have a little bit of a lingering history. Could potentially be falling into a role where he gets some consistent usage.
Yeah.
So
Right.
definitely a solid handcuff there. And then lastly, Tank Dell. Nothing too major to comment on
Yeah,
that.
it's a
but
3rd-round pick, so
Yeah.
I expect him to be probably my taxi guy for sure.
Yeah.
Just sit him down there. If he develops, he develops. If not, I've got wide receiver depth already, and I've got some young people at that position, so I'm not too worried about his development. But that was just a pick that rolled around, and that was the position I felt like was best addressed at that point in the draft.
For sure.
Well, good deal. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, way to
thanks
find
for
value.
having us,
Good
boys.
draft.
Had a great time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate
it
you
was
coming
fun.
on.
Let's get Steve Ferg on here for a minute.
Carter, you want to pop
If he's
up
good
for a
with
sec?
it.
Yeah. See Ferg.
All right.
He's creeping on Sleeper right now. He's looking at somebody on there.
Making an offer. He wants another live trade
those
to go
lips
down.
are sealed, baby. Come on in.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Well, you didn't have the busiest draft. You were kind of right here, sitting right behind the computer, just kind of manning it for the most part, waiting for your pick to come around at 204. Didn't really do any major trades, anything like that. Kind of just hung out, made your pick. But I will say this: going into the trip, while we were waiting in line to get on our flight, we were talking about 204, his particular prospects, and he was saying, "I want Rashee Rice to fall. That's the guy I'm looking for."
He was targeting him.
That's who we got. So, how do you feel just to kind of get the guy that you were hoping would fall?
Well, I was lucky enough for 3 QBs to be taken before Rashee fell to me. I'm sure, Anthony Richardson went in the 1st round, and then we had CJ and Bryce were back-to-back picks, so Rashee fell to me right after Bryce was taken, so I got pretty lucky there. So, as you guys know, last year I took Sky Moore with the 110. That was not a very promising rookie season. He was not very good. The only touchdown he did score was in the Super Bowl, by the way. So he came up huge for them.
He's a big moment guy.
But
Yeah,
he's a small receiver, and I feel like Rashee provides size for Patrick Mahomes and an offense that is going to be very competitive for catches outside of Travis Kelce. So they got Kadarius, they got Valdez Scantling, they got Sky.
Yeah, so definitely a solid pick. Rashee Rice, definitely a guy in a high-profile offense, can definitely be a really good piece for you. So overall, just kind of takeaways of the day. Anybody you think really stood out? Any picks that you really liked?
Yeah, me.
Okay, I like the confidence, man. All right.
Humble beast.
See you, man. Well, thanks for joining. And
Pleasure as always.
next up,
See you guys in the
we
bed.
can't just have one of the McCleary brothers, so we got to have Marcus on here. Had a very busy draft. I think a lot of his commentary might be kind of outside looking in, but he did make one move. Marcus, he was the only one besides for the very last pick of the draft, taking a guy that wasn't a rookie. So Marcus snags an active quarterback in the NFL, maybe the starter for the Washington Commanders, getting a little stack with Jahan Dotson at pick 304. I remember he was in the pool just chilling. I walk over there closer to his pick. He's like, man, I think I'm going to take Howell. Like, it's a guy already been in the league, played 1 or 2 games last year, looked decent. So, Marcus, tell us kind of how you think about getting that backup quarterback on the team.
Sam Howell.
I was also eyeing Ruggs, but he didn't make it to free agency.
He's already danced with that devil.
Yeah. So obviously I've had a very, very busy off season, but not so much today. When after Javonte got injured last year, I knew that I had to make some serious changes, like setting up the team for the future, and so that happened this offseason with trading him in that deal for Eckler. And that included my first-round pick for this year. I had a second-round pick this year. Didn't like any of the options in that range. Didn't think any one of them were going to really move the needle for me. So in a trade with Jake, I was able to swing Brian Robinson to get a little bit of depth.
Yeah.
I got a later second-round pick in that deal, which I deferred to next year with Mitri. So then I was looking at my team. Obviously, my team needs sit at this point. I just need a little depth in terms of like receiver. And then I needed a backup quarterback, and so then that's where Sam Howell came into play. Obviously, I'm not in love with the player, but it's just situation where he's someone that I can plug in and play if needed, if it's an emergency situation. So honestly, I had a busier yesterday than I did today, which was
So let me ask you this about Sam: were you worried about the amount of fab it would have taken him to get him on waivers? Is that why you snagged him so early?
So I had an early third. I think it was 304.
Yeah.
I've been shopping that third all day yesterday and all day today, just trying to get somebody's third for next year, and nobody wanted to do it. So then I was sitting there looking at, like, are any of these wide receivers worth taking? Dell out of Houston, I thought about him for a second, but I was like, he's a third-round pick. I don't really want to believe in that. There was a ton of tight ends on the board still at that point. Washington from the Steelers, and then obviously
Who didn't get drafted?
Strange.
Medicals.
So I just drafted for positional need. I figured, it is one of those things where it's like it was a need.
It's third round pick.
I do have my taxi currently full, so with guys that I actually want to hold on to. So I wanted to draft someone that would be on the active roster.
Well, let's just talk general then, since that was your main move from today. Well, who's somebody whose moves you really like today? Main winners, maybe a loser from today, if you want to share.
I think the obviously Chris is the one that comes to mind first. His team made a lot of changes and upped himself a little bit, which I think is overall a win for the league. I mean, his team was so atrocious last year, and now that he has at least some players on his team to put a decent roster
parity
out there, it's parity, right? So like, I played Chris week 2, and I'm like, well, crap. Now he's got at least some decent players on his team. So I think that was a win. I think Mitri did very well.
His roster filled out a lot too.
Mitri, is known to make impromptu decisions, and usually what he does with his draft picks is just trade him again. But he cashed him in today in a very big way. I question why he kept some of the later ones. Those should have been packaged, in my opinion, to get more established players. But I see what he's doing, so I like that. And then, other than that, I mean, Austin. It was good to have Austin out here actually making moves. JSN was a fantastic pick at 3.
Yeah, can't miss.
Yeah, so very happy with all that. But,
Any major loser? Anybody you want to call out?
no, not really.
I'll say, don't put that target on you.
I want to start some rivalries, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I will say that I am trying my butt off for this major deal with Brandon right now. We'll see if it comes through. But, shake up the league a little bit more.
All right.
Be
So,
exciting.
yeah, we'll see. I got Austin week 1. It's definitely a much better team than he was last year. Just getting some guys back. Probably Amon-Ra is probably going to be healthy again, so we'll see how that.
No doubt.
Yeah. It's shaping up to be pretty top heavy for the playoffs, though. So we'll. I know your move the other day to get Henry was partially because of that. So we'll see how some of these other teams
make it competitive next season.
Well, cool. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's bring up Sam Roberts, our commissioner, and get
Samuel!
his final take. Thank you, Mark. Sammy.
Yo.
Guys, how we doing?
Samuel.
Hey, Sam.
Our
What's
commissioner.
up, Sam?
Roberts, baby. Welcome in.
He had a busy day today,
Let's go, Sam.
and he passed with flying colors.
Yeah,
you know?
we had to phone in every pick to him. Sam made all the calls.
He got the
And,
colleges, the former colleges, right?
yeah.
I mean, I knew he would do that, but
It really went well. So, Sam, just tell us your takeaway from the day and being involved with this. What were your observations?
It's always an honor to be here to do this. This is such a big thrill for me. I know it's a great thrill for everybody in the league, all the great fans of this league,
The 11 of us.
all 11 of us. But it's always just I'm always honored to do this. Be a part of this in some way, just to contribute to all the love we have for football, for fantasy football, and this is really the climax of everything that's good about this.
Yeah.
And everybody has fun. We've had fun this week getting ready, and today was certainly no shortage of things that are both interesting and exciting.
Well said. And I think that another thing that happened today was you were getting blown up with messages of trades that were
Yes.
happening. How
Yes,
hard
I
was
was.
it to keep up with those?
Oh,
and keep
it's
the details straight?
it's incredibly difficult. But it's something that I have to get out there for everybody, and it's
Yeah.
something I take very seriously. So it's something that, as hard as to keep up all the names of teams and people submitting trade requests, not telling me who they've traded what to.
Yeah, that's part of the job.
That's part of the job,
Yeah.
and we just kind of figure it out as we go.
hey, I think you did better than Adam Silver and Roger Goodell for all things
Didn't
considered.
get booed nearly as much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I always get a warm reception here, unlike what Adam gets in New York every year and what Roger gets in 32 cities around the country every year.
First name basis.
For sure.
Well, let's just generally speaking, who's your favorite prospect on the board, and who do you like? Where they landed?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think we all acknowledge the guy, the hottest commodity was Bijan Robinson, and
Yeah.
him going to Lucas certainly is an exciting prospect. He's an exciting player. Is going to be a great addition to this league. I really am. I'm a fan of excitement. I was really excited about Anthony Richardson and what he brings, especially the fact that his pick gave.
I got it.
Someone close your laptop.
Yes, I did.
But anyway,
We good, we good.
while we deal with the technology here,
We'll boot this back up.
Carter,
It's summer of '69.
Lord,
It's capital S. You're kidding, bro. You. Summer of '69. 6 exclamation points.
are we live?
6? You just add one every time they make a change.
Oh man.
Oh dear Lord.
That's how you got some editing to do.
Anyway,
Change that after this video.
this is why live television's the best. You don't get this on. You don't get this every day. That's what the people pay money for. But Anthony Richardson getting traded for Calvin Ridley and Stephon Diggs is always very exciting when trades like that happen. I was excited to see a lot of guys take some risks on guys. That always is something that I think is good for our league. Guys like Kayshon Boutte, Sam Howell, Will Levis.
It was a big day for the league. We got everybody together and kind of just had time to spend and make deals in person. That was a really cool environment, and I'm glad you were a part of it. You really made it better, so thank you.
Absolutely.
thanks so much for being the
Absolutely.
commissioner. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
You
sir.
did a good job.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Always
maybe
pleasure to
we'll
be
just
here.
wrap it up real quick.
let's give like maybe 2 minutes on ourselves because
Yeah.
we haven't done that yet, and then we can wrap it up.
We'll do a quick
The
recap.
most
Yeah.
important part, yeah.
I'll We gave each of you guys like 5 minutes, man. So, yeah. So real quick about myself, I had 4 picks going into the draft. Ended up taking 5 players. So definitely made a few moves, specifically with Austin, the one guy that I've never made a move with. None of us have, but I made 3 today with him. So definitely a busy day with me and Austin, kind of getting to know each other a little bit.
He had to check that off.
Yeah. But I was able to take Quentin Johnston, definitely a high upside guy and an offense that I believe in for sure. Definitely a guy that has a high ceiling, definitely a low floor, but I'm kind of banking on that ceiling hitting.
Yeah.
Charbonnet, more an insurance policy, obviously a move me and you made a couple days prior, gets you a little bit more of a stud running back core, but also get me a little bit more peace of mind. I'm investing in Seattle's backfield. I'm very happy with what he can potentially be despite the terrible landing spot. Happy to get a little backup tight end, Musgrave. I think kind of the last tight end in that tier of like solid tight ends. I'm not going to compare him to a Kincaid or Mayer, and I still prefer Laporta, but I definitely think he's a lot better than those guys below him. So kind of getting that last guy in that tier of potentially competent tight ends was really nice. And then also just kind of a high upside guy with Cedric Tillman. I don't think he's going to be anything necessarily league breaking, but I think he has potential to be a rosterable player if he finds his spot in Cleveland. That wide receiving room has some space and opportunity, and I really like what he did at Tennessee. Just took a flyer on Levis at the end. I have Patrick Mahomes, so there's not really any like major need for him to pan out. But if he does, potentially trade him for some value later on. Just going to throw him on the taxi, see if he maybe makes something of himself in Tennessee. So overall, pretty happy with how it turned out. Really better than I expected going into the day. So overall, pretty happy with it. What about you, Ty?
Well, I think the first move of the draft week was what we did the other day, where I traded essentially Zach Charbonnet for Derrick Henry. I think he fit the timeline of my team and what I'm going for, and obviously Charbonnet works out with you being Kenneth Walker's manager. So wanted to make that move and feel good about where that left my running back situation. And then, I was at 106, was kind of in a position to take whoever was going to be left out of those wide receivers. Ended up being Zay Flowers. Not happy about adding another AFC North wide receiver, but happy with who we got. And other than that, in the second round, I traded up to get Marvin Mims at 209. I gave up Jamal Williams and a third-round pick to Chris to get him. And really the name of the game there was my wide receiver core is vastly unproven, and I think he's a guy that's a good dart throw because a very athletic profile, early breakout age, and was a second-round draft pick. I think that Denver's a spot where he'll have opportunity next season to emerge as a 1 or a 2 in that offense. And I just kind of liked the marriage of those things, so I wanted to make sure I left the draft with him because I knew I wasn't going to be getting anybody of his caliber in the third round, and Jamal Williams is kind of an old running back that was just going to be depth for me, who I think could be valuable, but would have rather taken the dart throw receiver there. So all things considered, I think it was a successful week. Feel good about the team and look forward to the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun one. We got our schedules. Waivers hit tonight. We're going to try to get back on Huddle House, as much as we possibly can, especially once the start of the season happens. We should be back on weekly. I'm sure we'll find some time to make it happen. So I'm very excited for another year. We're going to try to make this a yearly tradition. Hopefully we can do live Huddle Houses every single rookie draft. That would be so cool. It would be fun. And this was a lot of fun. Definitely so grateful for the league and all the guys for being so active and making it an eventful day. And let's hope next year is even better. So we're going to sign off, and let's have a fun season.
Great show.